the All India Management Association. There are 9 of them in the hall. It's my proud privilege to invite you to participate in the foundation today. We have 2 speakers on the stage who will talk to us about 2 different topics. First is Dr. Tarneja, a big force behind IMA. He's been involved with the All India Management Association for the last 50 years. Very rarely do you find somebody involved with an institution for over 50 years. So we thought it was absolutely fitting on the foundation day to honor Dr. Tarneja for all the contribution that he's made to All India Management Association for 50 years, and the support he's given all the former presidents. Okay. Of course, the second one, Nandan, needs no introduction. Nandan, one of the founders of Infosys, the author of a bestseller, Imagining India, quoted widely, one of our best brains, somebody who's repeatedly sought after for views on the economy, on India, etc. But more important, I think he moved from the private sector to the public sector to run Aadhaar. And all of us believe that this is a very fundamental thing which will change the landscape of rural India, and it will change the landscape of how the people at the edge of the poverty line will really benefit in the future. So welcome, Nandan, and thank you very much for sparing the time to be with us here today. What I thought I'll do on the foundation day is to go back. Today is the 57th foundation day. IMA started in 1953. Okay, so IMA has been around for 57 years. I'm the 47th president. So I thought I'd take a look at the IMA institution over the last 5 decades, and let's see how this institution has evolved and how the leadership has evolved of the All India Management Association. In the 46 presidents that we've had in the past, 4 have been academics, 34 from the private sector, and 8 from the public sector. So we had a good representation from academics, public sector, and the private sector. Okay, this was the first decade when we started, 1957. Okay, the birth pangs of industrialization. The key challenge was, how do you move from an agri-based economy to an industrial-based economy? 1957 is when IMA started, but before IMA started, there were 7 LMS which had already started. Bangalore, Coimbatore, Bombay, Delhi, Ahmedabad, Calcutta. So, and Madras, of course. These 7 had already started, and Bangalore was the first LMA to ever start. So these were the challenges then. Start of professional management. IMA launched the first advanced management program in collaboration with MIT in 1960, and IMA was called by the government to be a board member on the boards of IMA Ahmedabad and Calcutta. Okay? This was the first decade. The second decade, this is where you see Dr. Tarneja's picture from 1972. That was the start of the 1-year presidential term. Before that, you saw that there were presidents for 2 and 3 years. The management issues clearly, and the country issues were war, drought, oil shock, industrial unrest, energy sanctions, emergency, etc. The IMA milestones were the presidency of the AIMO in 1968. We introduced the diploma through correspondence in 1975. We started the 1-year tenure for presidents in 1972 with Dr. Tarneja, and we added 7 LMAs at this point of time, in this decade. If I go to the next decade, 1977 to 1987, we added 9 LMS this decade. Okay. Professor S.L. Rao, who's at the bottom left in his picture, he's still very active, based out of Bangalore. The challenge was socialism giving way to liberalization. The growth jump started from a level of a Hindu rate of growth of 2.5-3% to 5.5%. The milestones of All India Management Association: we got the presidency of the World Council of Management in 1978. The IMA diploma becomes approved qualification for promotion in senior positions in the government of India. That was in 1981. And as I mentioned, we added 9 LMS. Next decade was possibly a very busy one. This is the decade we added the maximum number of local management associations. We added 15 in this decade. And Mr. Chug is here, one of the former presidents, the chairman emeritus of ITC. So he led us in the year 83-84. Then Mr. Jairaj, whose picture you see, a very young Mr. Jairaj from the government of Karnataka. So he's there. The challenges which we had, the management issues, our debt was a serious concern in 1991. We are all aware of that. And acute shortage of management talent as the economy opened up. The IMA milestones, Government of India ties up with IMA to train IAS officers in 1987, significant moment for the All India Management Association. And we rolled out a nationwide MAT study for admission to B schools, which is still going very strong, and it's been running for about 14 years, close to 20 years now, and that's a very powerful vehicle for the All India Management Association. The next decade, 1997 to 2000, clearly the consumer decade as we see it. We added 10 local management associations. From this list we have Mr. Krishan Kalra, who's with us here today. Then we have Mr. Udesh Kauli, who's with us today. Mr. Alag was due here, but I don't see him. So he was also supposed to be here. So 3 of the former presidents. The second round of reforms is what happened this decade. Indian companies went global. Indian companies acquire iconic companies and brands across the world. This is the decade where India made its stamp outside of the world, outside of India. IMA milestones sets up Center for Public Governance, 2003. Gets AICTE mandate as the mandatory national B school entrance test in 2003. And as I mentioned, we added 10 elements. The last, this is the ongoing decade. Okay, so from here we have Mr. Keval Handa, who's with us here today. Then we have Gautam Thapar, who's with us here today. And Rajiv Vastupal was supposed to be here. I don't see him. Oh, Rajiv walked in. Thanks, Rajiv, for being here. So we have 3 of the former presidents. In the last 5 years, we've already added 11 LMAs. So I suppose this will be the most productive decade in terms of adding of LMAs. Today we have 64 LMAs and 2 affiliates. So a total of 66. The challenges we face today: economic slowdown, impacting sentiment, the Euro challenge, which all of us know about, and more critical, the emerging market slowdown. Every single emerging market has slowed down, whether it's China, India, Brazil, Indonesia, Vietnam, Pakistan, Mexico. Our milestones in All India Management Association: the first computer-based MAT admission test, 2008. E-learning programs were started, 2010. And as I mentioned, we added 11 elements. So this is the history of this institution over 57 years and 46 presidents. So I thought on this foundation day, it's very important to bring it all together for us to see how far we have traveled, and equally to say how much distance we need to travel in the next few years. The theme of today is rethinking the enterprise. Okay, I'm sure that every corporate captain in this room clearly knows what the challenge of rethinking the enterprise is and redesigning new business models. If you look at the full value chain today, almost everybody is disrupting the value chain with some new business model or other. So I think the challenge for institutions is to build a lasting institution to the future with great leadership, and equally to think of fundamentally new business models which will create value for the enterprise. Okay, so that's the theme of today's discussion. So with that, I hand over to Rekha. Rekha, can we start the awards?
Gentlemen, I have great pleasure in conducting a very pleasant part of the program today. IMA has been, which is conferring of awards. IMA has been at the forefront to foster and enhance excellence in management, entrepreneurship and leadership. As has been the tradition for many years, this year too, IMA is set out to hand prestigious awards to management professionals who have contributed significantly both to the corporate world and to the profession of management. These eminent people are chosen by a very select national jury that is made up of well-known economic, business and academic experts. I take pleasure in introducing the first set of award to you. In order to recognize and encourage the spirit of creativity and innovation in the small and medium enterprises, IMA jointly with Dr. J.S. Juneja, past President IMA, and former Chairman NSIC Limited, instituted an award called the Creativity and Innovation Award for Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. The national jury for the award was chaired by Mr. Pratyush Sinha, former Central Vigilance Commissioner, Government of India. The award consists of a trophy and a cash component of 51,000. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to announce that the AIMA-Dr. J.S. Juneja Award for Creativity and Innovation for Small Enterprises for the year 2012 is being conferred on OmniLens Private Limited. OmniLens Private Limited is a leading manufacturer of intraocular lens, a medical device implanted in the eye during cataract surgery to replace opaque natural lens. Omni is making continuous efforts to keep pace with international developments and upgradation of technology, modernization of machinery, and process for manufacturing. Its products are well accepted in the domestic and international markets as they maintain the highest standards of quality and are at par with imported intraocular lens. Omni products presently have presence in more than 55 countries and sustain the status of recognized export house. The All India Management Association recognizes Omni Lens Private Limited as a highly innovative, creative, quality-conscious and socially responsible enterprise in the healthcare sector and bestows the prestigious AIMA-Dr. J.S. Juneja Award for Creativity and Innovation on Omni. May I request Mr. D. Shivakumar, Ms. Preeta Reddy and Dr. Tarneja to escort the chief guest to the front of the dais. May I now invite Mr. Regis Vincent to come up to the dais to receive the award. Mr. Vincent. Kindly keep standing. Ladies and gentlemen, AIMA has instituted an award to honor public servants who display the highest degree of commitment to social responsibility, moral values, ethics and integrity, managerial and leadership skills, innovativeness in approach and strong influence on peer group, general public and common citizens. The award consists of a citation and a cash component of 51,000. This year, the award is being conferred on Dr. Madhav Chavan, co-founder and chief executive, Pratham. I will request him to receive the award after I read his citation. A trailblazing social entrepreneur, a committed and innovative change agent, Madhav Chavan is an inspiration to India's new generation of social workers. He co-founded Pratham in 1994 to help overcome the primary education deficit among Mumbai's underprivileged and has developed the organization into a multifaceted educator. Now, Pratham helps more than 3 million children learn to acquire language and numeracy skills. It also provides digital literacy and vocational training to the youth. An untiring pioneer, Dr. Chavan has led many path-breaking initiatives by Pratham. His contribution to education has been acknowledged globally. He has received the World Innovation Summit for Education Prize, which is considered the Nobel of the education sector. Moreover, under his leadership, Pratham has won universal acclaim. Several national and international accolades such as the Travis Prize and the Skoll Award have been bestowed on Pratham. The All India Management Association recognizes his inspirational leadership in the area of education and inclusion and confers the AIMA Public Service Excellence Award for 2012 on Dr. Madhav Chavan. May I now invite Dr. Chavan to receive the award.
The jury in AIMA, Nandan, get your hands, great honor. I don't know what to say, I was not prepared because I think thank you is enough. Education, everybody is aware, is sort of a crisis. We've got to all work together. I think the managements and the industry also have to now set some standards at the entry-level position. And if asked to elaborate at some other point, I will talk about it. But at this moment, I'll only thank you.
The next award is the AIMA Lifetime Achievement Award. This award recognizes the lifetime achievements of highly distinguished professionals in the country. IMA is pleased to confirm the IMA Lifetime Achievement Award in Management for the year 2012 on Mr. PRS Oberoi, Chairman, EIH Limited, in recognition of the significant contribution to professional management in India. I will request him to receive the award after I've read his citation. An industry pioneer and an inspiring business leader, Mr. Oberoi has made the Oberoi name synonymous with world-class hospitality. Mr. Oberoi has pioneered luxury hospitality in India and has set luxury benchmark with a chain of hotels and resorts, some of which rank amongst the best in the world. In 2008, Mr. Oberoi was awarded the Padma Vibhushan by the Government of India. In 2004, he received an award from the Department of Tourism, Government of India, for his contribution to tourism. He's received numerous awards and accolades in India and overseas. In December 2012, he received the Lifetime Achievement Award at the International Luxury and Travel Market at Cannes. In 2010, he was voted the Corporate Hotelier of the World by the readers of the Hotel magazine. In recognition of his management genius and his distinguished contribution, the All India Management Association confers the Lifetime Achievement Award for Management on Prithviraj Singh Oberoi. May I now invite Mr. Oberoi to come up to the dais to receive the award.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored that this award has been given to me today. I thank the jury and AIMA for this honor. I dedicate this award to all the people who worked for the Oberoi Group for these many years. They worked tirelessly, and I think most of you appreciate what they have done for our guests and those who stay in our hotel. Thank you very much.
The AIMA-Dr. Corporate Leadership Award had been instituted in the year 1995 to commemorate the values and ideals cherished by India's most iconic business leader, the late Dr. In the last 18 years, this award has been conferred on some of the most distinguished corporate leaders. The award consists of a beautiful rolling trophy, a citation, and a cash component of ₹2 lakhs. Ladies and gentlemen, as you are aware, the prestigious AIMA-Dr. Corporate Leadership Award is also given out on this occasion. I'm pleased to announce that the award for 2012 has been conferred upon Ms. Chanda Kochar, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, ICICI Bank Limited. Unfortunately, Ms. Kochar could not be with us today, and we would be presenting the award to her on a later occasion. The last award which is given on this occasion is the Dr. Tarneja Award for Best Article in Indian Management. In order to motivate good professional writing in the field of management, AIMA had jointly with Dr. Tarneja, past president of AIMA, instituted this award in the year 2006. The award carries a cash component of 10,000 and a citation. This year, the award has been conferred on Mr. R. Gopalakrishnan for his article, Boardroom Mantras for Aspiring CEOs. This article was published in the AIMA Journal, Indian Management issue of April 2012. Unfortunately, he could not be with us today, and we would be presenting the award to him on a later occasion. May I now invite Ms. Preeta Reddy, Senior Vice President IMA, to introduce the next set of awards to you. Ms. Reddy.
Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to conduct the next set of awards. The Honorary Life Fellowship Award. IMA confers the Honorary Life Fellowships on eminent personalities who have contributed immensely to the management movement in the country and also to IMA. It gives me great pleasure to announce that the Honorary Life Fellowship today is being conferred upon a very distinguished and outstanding personality and a past president of IMA 2010-2011, Mr. Gautam Thapar, Group Chairman and CEO, Avantha Group, for his immense contribution to IMA and to the management movement. I will request him to receive the fellowship after I've read his citation. A global entrepreneur, a statesman, business leader, and sports patron, Mr. Gautam Thapar is the face of New Corporate India. A sign of a domestic business house, he has transformed his legacy into a global conglomerate. A visionary business leader and an astute strategist, he has built an industrial powerhouse with interests in diverse sectors such as paper, power, engineering, IT services, farm forestry, and food. A statesman, he strives to enhance India's position in the world. He is the chairman of Aspen Institute India, which promotes India's international relations. He is a member of the National Security Advisory Board, which provides thought leadership for the country's strategic and economic security. A socially conscious business leader, he promotes education, technology research, and enterprise development. An avid sportsman himself, he supports golf's development in India. He is the president of the Professional Golf Tour of India, an organization he helped form and support with the help of players. A keen management thinker, he is the past president of IMA, and under his leadership, IMA strengthened its relationships with industry, the government, and other stakeholders. He helped enhance IMA's visibility both nationally and internationally, making it an important part of the global management network. IMA is pleased to confer its Honorary Life Fellowship on Mr. Gautam Thapar, Chairman Avantha Group, for his immense contribution in building IMA and the IMA brand. Gautam, today we acknowledge and celebrate your unique work, your unique contribution to IMA, and of course the unique person you are.
I was desperately trying to avoid this, but I'd like to thank the jury, thank Nandan, Dr. Tarneja, but I think I'd like to thank most the past presidents who are present in this room, because during my tenure as president, we did some amazing amount of work in reforming some of the governance guidelines of IMA, which I think will hold IMA in good stead over the next 20, 30 years. So thank you very much. Sometimes at the age of 52, you think you're too young to receive a lifetime honorary fellowship. I read somewhere that the new definition of middle age is it starts at 55. So I'm still too young to be receiving this. Thank you very much, and thank you very much.
High standards for the presidents who come after him. So I'm also in those shoes, and I think it's going to be hard for the future. The next award is the Golden Jubilee Award, and IMA's honored to present a special Golden Jubilee Award to Dr. Tarneja for his outstanding contribution and support to the association over the past 50 years. Over the years, he has played a pivotal role at IMA and has been one of the driving forces that has helped IMA evolve into what it is today. I will request him to receive the award after I've read his citation. A doyen of modern management in India, a tireless champion of spreading new knowledge, and a venerable mentor of many generations of Indian managers, he has made salutary contributions to the transformation of Indian management. Since attending a council meeting in 1962, he has been inseparable from All India Management Association forever. He has supported, guided, and led the association in maintaining thought leadership and fulfilling its mandate of promoting new age management attitudes and competencies in the country. During the half-century of his unbroken association with IMA, he has shaped the constitution and the culture of the organization. He made IMA a truly representative body of Indian managers. He represented IMA at international management forums. He was the president of the Indian Association of Management Organizations from 1989 to 1992. He was treasurer CIOS World Council of Management from 1975 to 1978. He also represented IMA on the boards of many important institutions, including IIM Calcutta and IIM Ahmedabad, and in his personal capacity on the IIM Bangalore board. He instituted an award in his name for the best article in IMA's journal, Indian Management. His unstinting commitment and outstanding contribution will always be the benchmark for other IMA members. In recognition of his 50 years of selfless contribution to IMA and its ideals, the All India Management Association is proud to felicitate Dr. Tarneja on its 57th Foundation Day. May I now request Dr. Tarneja to receive the award.
Tarneja, Shivakumar, Rekha, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's really a great pleasure and honor to be here today at the Foundation Day celebrations of the IMA. As Shiv was going through all the past presidents, I was quite stunned to find that almost all of them are friends of mine. So clearly I'm doing something right by being here, and also the current and the future president are good friends. So it's really a great pleasure to be amongst all of you. Today's theme is about disruptive business models. So I thought I'll spend some time trying to understand and analyze the impact on business models of technology, which I think has been one of the most disruptive gale forces that's really affecting industries. And we see this is not just theory, it's actually happening every day. For example, we keep reading about retailers going out of business in the US, or newspapers bleeding because of lack of classified ads. We heard about music companies having, come, this is Pama?
Oh, sorry.
Come sir. No, not at all, come, have a seat. I think, so, we are seeing every day around us the impact of these technological changes on business models. You're seeing newspapers losing revenue rapidly as classifieds run away from them. You're seeing retailers closing down. You're seeing music companies merging because of lower cash flow. You're seeing book publishers consolidating around you. You're finding camera companies going out of business. So fundamentally, this business model changes that are coming due to technology are actually impacting real businesses, real jobs, and real value. And this is happening essentially, I believe, because of the dramatic changes happening in technology. And one of the reasons why we need to understand why this change is happening goes back to a concept which was articulated by Gordon Moore in 1968, which is Moore's law, which said that digital technology or computing technology will double in power every 18 months. Now, doubling, as you know, is a very profound thing, because on a small base, doubling really doesn't make that much of a difference. But as the base becomes larger, the doubling is going to become even larger. And therefore, in some sense, we are entering that era where the doubling of this computing power will have even larger and quicker implications on businesses and business models. So this is something which is actually impacting businesses. And I think today, any business, whether it's a business of any kind, actually will have to look at what is the implication of this trend on their business. And I'll give you some examples. For example, we have seen what's happened in retailing. In retailing, there have actually been large booksellers that have had to go bankrupt, because now with these huge, massive retail outlets on the internet, people are buying their books. All of you are buying your books online, and so on and so forth. And this compounding of technology has essentially led to a situation where computing power has become infinitely cheap. In other words, you can put lots of very cheap computers together and build massive computing capacity. You can put lots of storage together and have practically infinite amounts of storage. You're seeing a trend where connectivity is going to become more and more ubiquitous, and you're going to have more and more broadband, which means everybody will have access to broadband connectivity in the country or in the world. And you're seeing the arrival of new devices like smartphones, tablets, stuff like Shiv does, which are essentially going to really make it very ubiquitous to put a very powerful device in the hands of people. And what's also, I think, important to realize in these new devices is that the nature of the interface is changing. For example, in the old days, you had a keyboard, and then you had the mouse, but the thing with the keyboard was that you had to be literate, you had to know some language. But all the new interfaces that are coming are essentially much more human-centered, like touch, like gestures, like voice. And therefore, the access of technology is becoming much more widespread to people who are either illiterate or people who are uncomfortable with technology. So suddenly, the whole thing is becoming much more democratized in terms of access. So we are seeing this combination of this massive computing power, infinite storage, infinite computing, broadband, and devices. And this coming together is actually the source of some of these challenges. Because this coming together has led to online stores where you can buy music, which means they become the front end to selling a product, which in turn has an impact on music producers. Or you have situations where these online search engines allow you to search for information, which in turn means that the classified ads of the newspapers migrate from newspapers to this online world, which affects the revenue of newspapers. Or you have, because of this massive computing power and broadband, you can now start sending video and audio things digitally, and therefore you no longer need to rent a movie, because you can just get it online on the network. So these are all fundamental things that are affecting businesses. But what's happening is beyond that, because now we are seeing this affecting even real world businesses. For example, logistics. Logistics historically were vertically integrated companies that would take things and they would have the trucks, they would have the warehouses and all that. But because this technology now allows us to disaggregate a value chain, you can now concatenate a business by getting different disparate players and connecting them into one network. So you don't really have to own all the trucks, you don't need to own all the warehouses, but because every warehouse, every truck is connected to you and you can manage with data, I think you find that suddenly you have new players emerging who are creating very successful logistics companies which take on the traditional logistics companies. Or what's happening in the hospitality industry, you have now many bed and breakfast services that are online, which have taken a significant part of the market share of people traveling, because instead of booking in a traditional hotel, they go and book in online and take a room with somebody else. The same thing is happening to taxis and automotive services. Because again, because you have everybody having access to everybody on the grid in some sense, you can pool regular cars, and they can also double up as taxis, and people can just book a car on the mobile and then use that. So what this is telling us is really that these changes are real, that these changes will only continue because this doubling of computing power will have an impact. Another great example is what's happening in driverless cars. You're seeing cars now emerging, at least with 2-3 vendors, where actually they drive, they go around without a driver. The reason they're able to do that is that they have massive data about maps and about buildings and so on and so forth, and therefore and plus they have sensors on the side to make sure that they travel on the road properly. So using these technologies, you are able to have driverless cars. Now imagine what that means to the automobile industry in terms of having driverless cars. So I think we're seeing more and more of these changes happening. Now the next level of these changes is going to come because of what's called as the Internet of Things, because just as we saw computing power becoming free, broadband becoming ubiquitous, devices becoming free, now you have the arrival of things like sensors, and a sensor is now can be connected to the internet, which means every device can be connected onto the internet, which means now instead of having just a few billion people having internet access, you actually have several more billion things that are connected to the internet. And the moment you make those things also connected, that opens up new possibilities. For example, in the case of electricity, you would be able to conceive of much more intelligent grids which are actually able to sense demand, turn-offs, have dynamic pricing of power, have dynamic and irregular generation being absorbed by the grid, shutting down things remotely if the price is too high, all kinds of things which you can have on an electric grid, which you can't really do in an ordinary grid. And therefore there's going to be a whole new class of grids emerging which are much more dynamic, both in their consumption as well as in their production. But the same thing will happen in healthcare, because once you have the ability to do remote sensing of health conditions or doing health tests, then you will have a different model of figuring out what are the ailments of a particular person, and then using again the connectivity, you can beam all that information to a central location, and then that in turn can change the whole delivery architecture of healthcare. Because once you do this, then at the point of diagnostic or the point of healthcare, you can have a person who's not necessarily as qualified as somebody back in the hospital, and therefore can create a much more hub and spoke method of delivery in healthcare, which is again possible because of these technologies. Or what's happening in education today. One of the big trends today in education is what is called as massively online open courses, which allows the many companies and universities that are doing that, which are essentially putting all their content on the cloud and allowing people around the world to access those courses and register, and ultimately they will be awarding degrees, they'll be awarding they'll be giving credits, you'll have portability between universities. So suddenly you'll find a way of expanding reach of education using these technologies. So my point is that it's very, very important, I think, for us to realize that these technologies are no longer just, they actually are making a difference to businesses, they're making a difference to business models, they're making a difference to revenues, they're making a difference to the health of companies are going bankrupt. So it's really a very, very major change which is happening. And this is the change which is, this is just the digitalization change I talked about, Moore's law. But the other things that are happening include robotics. Some of the new trends we are seeing in robotics is very, very staggering, and the kind of robotic tools that are coming. And what that robotics does is that fundamentally it changes the equation of manufacturing costs, because if you're able to essentially reduce labor content in manufacturing, then you're able to then, it may no longer be required to outsource manufacturing to a far-off location. And in fact, what you're seeing in the US today is the combination of cheap energy from unconventional energy and shale oil, shale gas and all that, and robotics is actually bringing manufacturing back to the US. Because once you're able to sort of recalibrate the labor costs, then it makes a lot more sense to be able to manufacture closer to the market, because you'll be able to respond more quickly to market conditions. Or the other important trend which is happening is that of 3D manufacturing, which allows us to dynamically manufacture all kinds of things by just putting layers and layers of different material. And now 3D manufacturing is happening for parts. Tomorrow it will happen for biological parts. You can 3D kidney or whatever. So I think you're again going to see a whole trend in 3D manufacturing, which allows you to design on the cloud using digital technology and then actually produce at that point of delivery. And sort of an extension of that would be open source 3D manufacturing, where people will actually put up designs on the cloud of various manufacturable things, and they could be manufactured remotely. I mean, let's say that you want to make tractors, then you could have a system where the tractor design is up there, and you could have all these 3D printing facilities in villages which actually print tractor parts or whatever. My point is that this is real stuff, that this is affects, earlier we thought of the impact of digitization of impacting digital industries like music, like video, like publishing and printing. But now it's becoming very clear that it is affecting any industry where there is high coordination cost, where historically you created vertical companies which have owned anything, but now those vertical companies can be disaggregated and made into virtual companies of individual players, and it is impacting technology that have sensorability, like electricity, like health, where you can actually use these sensors to manage things, and it is affecting manufacturing and all these things. So really, this is really serious stuff which is happening out there. So I do believe that these disruptive business models are going to be very, very important in the future, and it's important to understand that these are trends that are unstoppable, and this stuff is going to keep happening. It's going to get faster, better, cheaper every year. And I think if we don't take if we ignore these trends, we run the risk of whatever businesses that we are in. Fortunately, I'm not running a business, so I don't have a problem. Whatever business we are in, we are under risk of obsolescence. And at the same time, these new technologies combined with new business models are actually giving us chances to come up with new things that couldn't be done earlier, which also means there's enormous scope for getting into new ways of doing things. So I do believe that we are at a very critical juncture. I think the next 10 years you're going to see massive change and massive dislocation, but I'm sure that we'll all be able to get through with it. Thank you very much.
Guest Mr. Nandan Nilekani, dignitaries on the dais, past presidents, our former Chief Justice of India, Justice Verma, distinguished award winners, past presidents, and ladies and gentlemen. It's been an outstanding morning, starting with the awards, just to honor the work which people have done and who really made India the country it is today. Mr. Nilekani, thank you for your insightful and perspective keynote address. All innovations are disruptive, but when you look at a crystal ball and talk about the future, you make it sound real, and let me tell you that a lot of things you've been saying are actually real and happening. I come from the healthcare field, and I know that robotics or 3D construction of organs and technology has made a huge impact on how healthcare is being delivered. And the same thing is happening for either manufacturing or services or hospitality. In fact, it's happening in the area of governance also. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. I think the environment today is conducive simply because I think businesses need to reinvent themselves. Models have to be disruptive, and the future, many times people have said it looks bleak, but if we look into the crystal ball and work really hard, it need not be so bleak in the future. So ladies and gentlemen, I think we've had an outstanding morning up till now. I'd like to ask Mr. Shivakumar, our President, to present a memento to Mr. Nilekani in appreciation of the time he spent and the outstanding speeches. I would also like to take this opportunity to congratulate Mr. Oberoi and Mr. Madhav Chavan on their very well-deserved awards. It's indeed a privilege for IMA to honor you today and have you with us. Thank you both for joining us on this very special day. My compliments and best wishes to our friend Mr. Gautam Thapar on receiving the Honorary Life Fellowship of IMA. A past president of IMA, he continues to guide and support the association, and we look forward to the same in the years to come. Congratulations to OmniLens Private Limited, Ahmedabad, the winners of Dr. Juneja Award for Creativity and Innovation in the SME sector. I would especially like to applaud Dr. Tarneja on completing 50 years of association with AIMA to steadfastly dedicate half a century to one organization is something we don't hear very often and is simply quite remarkable. Thank you, sir, for being a pillar of strength for AIMA and for mentoring many generations of AIMA officials. I would also like to congratulate Mrs. Chanda Kochar for having won the prestigious AIMA JRD Tata Corporate Leadership Award, and Mr. R. Gopal Krishnan for the award for Best Article in Indian Management. Unfortunately, they could not be with us today, and they will receive their award on a later occasion. I take this opportunity to thank all AIMA members, council members, LMA representatives, and the eminent guests for your wonderful support. It encourages us to strive harder and to be of greater service to Indian management fraternity. Ladies and gentlemen, before we break for tea, I would like to give you a quick preview of what is to follow. In the next session, we have the privilege of having with us the former Chief Justice of India, Justice J.S. Verma. He will share with us his thoughts on the new phenomenon which the country is witnessing today, of ordinary Indians taking to the streets to take up national issues, issues which affect each and every one of us. Who better than Justice Verma to speak to us? He has headed the committee that has recommended changes to criminal laws to improve the safety of women, to share his views on how to bring about change which is so sorely needed today. After the session with Justice Verma, we will take up another urgent and national issue facing the country today, growth versus stability. While businesses in India want more freedom for growth, the government has to respect people's expectations of fair and equitable growth. We have an eminent panel of parliamentarians, business heads, and thought leaders to debate on this topical issue. We are honored to have with us on the panel Mr. Rajiv Pratap Rudy of the BJP, Mr. BJ Panda of the BJD representing the government, while Mr. Sunil Kant Munjal of the Hero Group and Mr. Pramod Basin of Genpact will represent industry. We will also have the eminent economist, Mr. Vivek Oberoi, providing his perspective on the subject. It promises to be an interesting morning, and I'm sure you will all have a lot of questions to ask of our speakers today. Thank you all for your attention.